Hi there. My name is Jeff, and I'm starting up a new YouTube channel. You can see my golden retriever here. Her name is Sunny. She is about 10 years old. And over the last 10 years, Sunny and I have always enjoyed getting away to different parts of Wisconsin. I live in Green Bay, as you might guess, at least. I'm in Wisconsin by the cap. But we like to get away from traffic. We like to get out into the woods or certain other natural areas where we can get away from cars. We can explore new places, places that have some natural history, some interesting geology, for example. We also enjoy looking at places that have maybe some human history, whether it's Native American or other, history from long ago, as we have at today's site. The channel, I'm hoping to refine this as we go, but what I plan to do in most of these videos is first show you a map of where we're going, what I'm looking for, and so forth, and then we typically get outside and hike around, and I will videotape what we find and post those videos on YouTube. So today we're at a place called Wequiock Creek Natural Area, and it's a pretty good sized chunk of land. I'll put the map up later, but it was only recently turned into sort of land that's public access. It was privately owned all of this time, and only recently was purchased by the Wisconsin Land Trust and turned into public access. It's just not very far, several miles north of Green Bay, off of Nicolay Drive, and it was almost developed into a subdivision. There are subdivisions that are sort of sprawling up this way from the Green Bay area. There's one small one to the north, some more to the south of where we are, but this area, again, was almost subdivided, but then the land trust purchased it and kept it because it is a very nice piece of land, as we will see in just a minute. So that's the format. I hope you enjoy coming with me on these journeys. I promise this is my first YouTube video experience, so I did get some software that will help me hopefully splice together some of these movies, but I imagine some of these at first will be kind of rough as I learn how to do the YouTube channel thing. So I think you will enjoy what we're looking at. Maybe you want to visit places like this, other places that we'll look at yourself. Maybe you've been here long ago. Maybe you just want to see what it's like to be in some of these natural areas in Wisconsin. So with that said, I'm going to Sunny and I are anxious to get out into the woods. So we parked just off of Circle Ridge Drive, which comes up from Nicolay Drive next to the Bay of Green Bay. Again, just a few miles north of the city of Green Bay. And there are some informal trails, it looks like, that go into the woods here. This was an old farm site, so there you can see what's left of a couple of silos. I did check the air photos and the mapping before I came out here. This was an old farm site way back in at least the 1800s, late 1800s. There was still a barn and some other buildings here that I could see on the 1938 air photo, but by 1960 the barn was gone and the other buildings were gone. So there's no building here presently, but we still have some artifacts, some things to take a look at here. So again, very nice, pleasant walk through the woods. It's January 4th, 2021. I just got this new iPhone for Christmas. Part of the reason I decided to start this YouTube video, or YouTube channel. I finally have a decent enough camera to do that. So here Sunny and I are coming up upon an old stone cellar. It's an old farmhouse cellar, I believe. Again, this building was gone, it looks like, even by 1938. I believe it was already gone. And this is something built probably in the 1800s, as you might gather from the stone. I mean, I don't know how long they used stone, but by the 1900s, most buildings were poured concrete and that sort of thing. If there is a bit more foundation over to the north end of this, I'm facing north right now. A little bit more history for you. So you can see, if we walk just a little bit further to the west, there's a slope right here. There's Nicolay Drive, car just drove by. But this slope, we are not able to see the bay of Green Bay right now. But once upon a time, about 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, this was the shoreline of Green Bay, back when lake levels were higher than they presently are. In fact, Green Bay, Lake Superior, and Lake Huron were all at about the same level, approximately 27 feet above what Lake Michigan is today. And it was called the Nipissing level of the Great Lakes. And that brought that shoreline right up to here. So this was obviously predating the European settlement, but it is likely that Native Americans were here back at that time, again, about 5,000, 6,000 years ago. This is, by the way, this area was settled by Native Americans. There were Native American villages near here, quite a lot of artifacts, and I hope that we can explore those as well someday. But first, let's take a look here on this trust property. So here, Sonny and I are coming up to the valley in which Wequiock Creek flows. And just up the little ways to the east of here, there is a waterfall. Well known locally, it's called Wequiock Falls. But this is the gorge, or the valley, basically, that is downstream of the falls. Sonny's anxious to get going. So here too, you can see a little bit of an informal trail that a few others have been walking on. I don't know that a lot of people are very familiar or know this property is. First of all, they might not know it's as pretty as it is, as cool as it is, but they might not know that it's public access because, again, this was just recently purchased by the Wisconsin Land Trust, which then opened it up for hiking and hunting and a few other uses. One thing I've noticed when I've watched YouTube videos is sometimes I think they're too choppy. Like, other people put videos out, they try to keep them short and sweet, but what I think I will do with most of these is just try to relax. Being out here in the woods in Wisconsin is supposed to be a relaxing thing, and we're just going to chill out, take it easy, not to get too crazy with the editing and, flashy stuff. And it's just be like Sonny and I sniff around and try to enjoy this. I just tripped there a little bit. Sorry. I think my favorite time to be in the woods is in winter time because, well, probably the biggest reason is there are no bugs. There are no mosquitoes, no ticks, nothing here to bother us. And it's a little easier to walk as well through the woods in the winter time, especially, as long as there isn't too much snow. Right now there's only about 6 inches or so. Oh, here's a little interesting thing. If you see that square-shaped object down there, it's a foundation of some kind, I think. I've talked to a couple of people about this. I originally thought it was a mill, like the foundation that's left from a mill site, but some people think it's what's left of like a cistern to keep milk cold, I guess, down in the creek. Probably even in the summertime, the creek water is pretty cold and would have kept the dairy products cool. So that's another thought that's out there. Part of the reason I thought it was perhaps a dam or a mill was because if you hike around on the other side of the creek, there's right near that larger tree, there is what is sort of an unnatural pile of soil that almost looks like it was, a dam extended across this valley at one time. And this is about the narrowest part of the valley, and this would have made a pretty nice mill pond going that direction. So who knows? It may have been dammed, and that may have been a cistern to keep things cold, or a something like that. But who knows? You can see Sunny is there. She's anxious for me to get going. Usually we walk at a much faster pace than this. Here's I'm gonna zoom in on this wasp nest. Looks pretty cool. Wow, the camera on these new iPhones. This is an iPhone 12, and normally I only buy a new iPhone I usually keep the old one until they just don't work anymore. So many years. My old iPhone was quite a few years old, and this one is significantly improved over that old phone. There's no way I would have been able to do this video in cold weather like this. The old phone would have been dead immediately. So I did mention hunting. People can hunt out here. You can see a tree stand. So in Wisconsin, people will climb up trees and wait for deer to come by. And if I'm a deer where I'm standing right now, I'm most likely dead. But yeah, some folks have left their tree stands out here, which I guess it's frowned upon to just leave the stand out here like that, but maybe they have permission to do so. Sorry for the interruptions there. I had meant to sort of keep the camera rolling, but when I hit the side button, it shuts the camera off, the video off. I'm still getting used to this new phone, I guess. We are walking east from Nicolay Drive towards the falls. Easy walk. A little bit of topography, but as you can see, it's been brushed out into somewhat of a trail here, so not a difficult walk at all so far. This direction, you can see this was an agricultural field up until recently. The land trust did buy a bunch of this open land as well, and looks like they're letting it sort of naturalize, but this is also land trust property in the direction that I'm facing. When I get to the map section later, we can look to see how many acres this is exactly. Let's kind of stick to the woods though. Sonny, let's go this way. So when I was a kid, I read the Little House on the Prairie books. Actually, the Little House books. The one that I read quite often was Little House in the Big Woods, actually, which took place in Wisconsin back in the 1800s with Laura Ingalls Wilder. And it wasn't this part of Wisconsin. She was in the western part of the state, but I still remember wondering, you know, what the old growth big woods was actually like. These trees are actually, you know, you can tell they're not that big, they're not that old. This area was probably clear cut back in the 1800s or maybe even later than that. So most of these trees are, you know, way less than 100 years old. There are some good sized trees back here. There's a white oak back about in that direction that's got, that thing's a 4 or 5 foot diameter white oak, which are slow growing trees. That one's got to be at least a couple 100 years old. But most of the other trees, I wouldn't call this a big woods right now. It's just redeveloping into you know, a fairly decent little forest. And Sunny's kind of just chilling out as I'm talking to you guys. What's the matter there, Sunny? She's not a young pup anymore, so there are times she slows down on me. She is, again, she's about 10 years old. She has good days where she's got lots of energy, and then she's kind of got days like today where she's like, I don't know how fast I want to go or how far I want to go here, Dad. Sonny, we can go this way a little ways yet. Sure, there you go. So we're getting into this more open area here. We can see a snowmobile has been through here, which, oh, I guess that makes for even easier walking. For the last several days, and I've got another video that I made of a different location yesterday, when the last several days, the trees have been covered with sort of a frost. I think what's been happening is it's been getting foggy at night, and then that moisture's been freezing to the branches. It's not quite as lovely looking today as it's been the last few days, but I will try to post the video from yesterday's walk on here where you can see the trees in their full winter glory. So we're walking along the edge of the valley here. And you can walk, like I said, a pretty good distance back off the road. Once you get to the edge of the public land, the trust property, there are signs that say no trespassing. So you obviously need to stop there. But I think what I'll do at this point is I'm going to segment this video a little bit. So I'm going to turn off the camera here a bit and log back on when we find something interesting. So I decided today we are not going to cross the creek. The creek has water that flows well enough that even when it's cold like this, it's probably not frozen very well. We actually crossed it the last time we were here and both got our feet wet. Maybe I'll splice in, I did take a little video of that, and perhaps I'll splice some of that in. But for today, we're just gonna stay on the easier path here. I do wish that I could get across to show you that fantastic oak tree. That's the big oak tree on the other side of the creek is pretty cool looking. There are a few trees you've noticed on this side that have some better size to them, but we are nearing the eastern edge of this public land here. Let's actually see if there's any part of the trail that we can walk into right here. It looks like some deer use this path to get down into the woods. But yeah, I don't think we're gonna go down there today. Again, I'll try to post that video that I made when I first got my camera the other day and see if I can splice that in with the Movie Maker software that I got. Okay, Sonny, we don't have to go down there today. You okay with that? Yeah, you kind of look like you want to go down there. Golden retrievers are awesome. In case you don't know, they're just so loyal, so friendly. I've got 3 kids. She grew up with the kids, and she is part of the family, absolutely no doubt. So that I hope she and I can continue to make many more of these videos as we go forward here. She's usually my travel companion when we go out for these hikes. Right, Sonny? Right. Yes. Yes. I know all the professional YouTubers say that I need to get a tripod to stabilize these images. Hopefully I'm not making you too dizzy here. We're down near the creek right now. As I mentioned, this time I don't think we're going to try to cross that ice, because if or when we break through, I'm just not sure how deep that water is going to be. Probably only ankle deep, but Sonny and I decided to stay dry today. So the geologist in me sees that rock outcropping on the other side of the creek, and we're not going to take a close look at it today, but well, some people think, hey, it's just rocks, so what, right? Well, what I think is cool about rocks is the story that they tell. And believe it or not, there are there's a story of volcanoes in those rocks, and in the rocks of Wequiock Gorge here up to the falls. And we will visit the falls in a future video, and I'll explain more about how volcanoes, what sort of impact they had on these particular rocks here in Wisconsin, eastern Wisconsin. But I think we'll save that for another day. So we've hiked back to where we started, and a couple more things we're going to look at here. Here's another old stone, or excuse me, another old foundation. I don't know if it's stone or not, but you can see sort of this square outline in the snow. And again, the barn and other buildings extended this way north from those silos. We're going to take a peek inside of those silos. I believe you can see what appears to be more foundation. Yeah, probably barn foundation here and over here. Again, looking at the 1938 aerial photos, the barn buildings would have been right about here. We'll be right there, Sunny. She thinks these silos are creepy, I think. She doesn't want to come by these silos with me. So you can see Dale and Beth, Dan and Diane have been here. Guess, you know, given those names, Bonnie and, I don't know, Terry. Given those names, I'm thinking these are older folks, probably in their 50s or 60s now, but once upon a time, someone was here. We'll see if the light adjusts. It looks like somebody put a couple stumps in here as seats and made a little fire. Now this would have made a nice little chimney, a little cozy spot for young lovers perhaps to hang out. I don't know if this fence post was their fire poking stick. And then over in the other silo, just some old tires, motorcycle tires, that sort of thing. But I better go find my dog, because where did she go? She's ready to get out of here. Well, it's nice you could join me on this fine winter day, January day here in Brown County, eastern Wisconsin. And again, I hope these videos improve in quality and in content as I learn how to work these. We will definitely be hiking other interesting parts of Wisconsin as soon as we can. Thank you. As you're leaving the property, heading towards Circle Ridge, you can see there's kind of a cool A-frame house over there. Those folks might not be all too pleased that, you know, this is trust land, although I think it's probably better than a residential subdivision for them. Here is the sign. Wequiock Creek Natural Area. And again, I will splice some maps that I've got onto this video, and we'll talk about that some more. And this is the drive back down to Nicolay. So yeah, this is a nice, quiet, quaint little spot not far from the city of Green Bay that, well, kind of lets you escape into nature for just a little while at least. All right, so here's where we were today, the Wequiock Natural Area, Wequiock Creek Natural Area. This is the city of Green Bay. This is a map that is called Brown Dog. And if you want to use this, it's an online map. You can just go to Google, put in Brown County Brown Dog, and you'll see a link to it. You might recognize this face in the upper left corner. That's because that is Sunny, my travel companion dog that was in the video earlier. I'm actually the guy behind this map. I work for Brown County, and I'm the GIS coordinator there. And it's kind of a long story why this mapping app ended up being called the Brown Dog. Maybe I'll discuss that someday, but it is what it is. So here's sort of my neighborhood in the upper northeast side of Green Bay. Where we went today was just north of my home, to this property that's highlighted in green, owned by the Northeast Wisconsin Land Trust. And just zooming in a little further, you can see this piece here is about 61 acres, and then there's another 8 acres over here. I'm just going to simplify this map a little bit. I drove in on Nicolay Drive, took Circle Ridge Road, and then parked right about here, if you can see my mouse. And that is where I parked, and then basically Sonny and I walked in, looked at the farmhouse right around here, and then hiked along the creek and went back about this far and turned around and came back. We have looked over here, but not today. So when I mentioned a few things in the video that I looked at to do my research. So over here we have the original surveys of Brown County, and if you zoom out, this is from the 1830s in this area. You can see this, which is an old road that was present, this line right here, in the 1830s. It does not show that there was a house here at this time. It's possible that the person who made this map back then just didn't place it and it was there, although if you go further south they do map some of the other homes and fields along this area, but not particularly that one. I don't know if that farmhouse was there in 1830, but if you go to 1889 again, you can start to see the this was likely the farmhouse, the barn, and something else back here that I wonder whether or not that was a mill perhaps, or maybe another barn or something like that. And then 1900 shows pretty much the same thing. When we get to actual aerial photos in 1938, here is where you can see those two silos that we looked at, here and here, with the barn right here, another shed right here. I think we looked at that foundation, and then the farmhouse, which was up over here. Maybe it is still on, was still present in 1938. And so that was what I'm going off of. I mentioned that in the video. 1960, you can see the barn's gone, the silos remain, and you can look on through some of these other photos. The 2000 air photo, still black and white, but there's the property, and then you can of course view the modern day aerial photo right here as well. So that's where we went today in this video, and again, a nice easy little hike not far from Green Bay. So hope you enjoyed it. Thanks. Alright, so we've hiked a little further in to the property, and we're up close to Wequiock Creek. I don't trust that any of the ice that I'll walk over is going to be thick enough. There's some cracking ice, and we'll see. We'll see how cold this is. It's going to be cold. And that's I probably could have made it across a frozen spot. The problem with going across the ice is if you do break through, you never know if it's crazy deep. Here is the largest tree I've seen on this property so far. Big old white oak. And just for scale, I was trying to get my dog in a little closer. I mean, that thing has a 4-foot diameter, close to it. That might be a couple 100 years old. It's a big tree. Looking a little bit rough these days. But yeah, not a big woods, but it's a big tree.